Hi there, YouTube. This is David Rondinelli, your co-host for Monster Nation, and I have with me here
Justin Lockwood.
And in this video, we're going to be bringing you our most anticipated movies and TV of 2016. So we're going to take you through everything from studio movies to independent movies and, of course, TV. So be sure to follow us through the video, and we're going to get started right now.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
What has been most exciting to you so far?
Well, as far as big studio stuff, I feel like I've been waiting a really long time for a Cloverfield sequel, and we're basically getting one. What J.J. Abrams says is 10 Cloverfield Lane, which comes out in March, is going to share some DNA with Cloverfield. Something has found us again. Like, you know, this girl being kept in a bunker. The girl's played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead. The guy is John Goodman.
Welcome back, Goodman.
Yeah, he's a great actor. He claims that something catastrophic has happened in the outside world. She thinks maybe he's just nuts, and so she sort of breaks out and presumably is going to encounter the Cloverfield monster.
Yeah.
What this kind of reminds me of is Prometheus. When Prometheus came out, they made a big to-do about how it's not really a prequel to Alien, but it shares some DNA. I mean, I swear they use like the same wording. It was a prequel to Alien. So, you know what? Either way, I'm looking forward to it. I'm very intrigued.
I was too. I mean, it was fun to watch, you know, that teaser trailer, and it couldn't be a better time to be a J.J. Abrams fan considering what we just got from Star Wars. So
exactly.
I think everybody is looking forward to a big follow-up. But, you know, I've even been hearing that they kind of had the movie done for a while, and they've been sitting on it for...
Yeah, there's even a rumor that maybe it was made as like a standalone film, and they made the decision to kind of like reshoot some things to tie it in with Cloverfield, which is kind of a bummer, but kind of like, but if it's a good movie and it works, then why not?
Well, I hope so, because, I mean, it wouldn't be the same without the monster, so...
No,
you know,
obviously, I've been wanting to see that monster again for like, it's been almost 10 years now since
it's hard to believe that it's been that long, too, because, you know, when you think about it, like, you know, the monster was the huge appeal of, like, tearing through Manhattan, and then now they're going to have something that takes place, like, in suburbia, so... You know,
it's kind of interesting to see. You know. Well, he basically, I mean, Manhattan was basically leveled at the end of Cloverfield, so I guess, you know, where does he go next? Maybe, you know, Parsippany, New Jersey? I don't know.
Massachusetts.
Yes, Massachusetts, definitely. He's coming for the massholes, and I say.
The Con Artist Part 2. I mean, The Conjuring Part 2.
The Conjuring 2, and I will say, you know, I wasn't as nuts about The Conjuring as some people, but I think why people liked it so much is because it's a very old-fashioned, well-made, creepy ghost story. I mean, I just think James Wan is really good at that.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything I've seen by him has been entertaining. And so I think, you know, you got Patrick Wilson, you got Vera Farmiga, who I love.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's going to be a really well-crafted movie. The trailer is really creepy. We just watched it before we filmed it. Yeah. Little girl's like, he just said it just now. He's right behind you. Yeah. Like but it was creepy, right? Like it's genuinely creepy.
Although I wish I could sleep on the ceiling.
Yes, there's a girl like sleeping on the ceiling in it. But another thing that I personally am excited about, I'm kind of like an Amityville nerd, and the opening prologue is going to touch upon Amityville because the real life investigators, James Warren and Lorraine. How could I forget Lorraine Warren, who now runs a paranormal museum / chicken farm in Connecticut.
Lorraine's still alive, right? Her husband, I think, passed away.
Her husband passed away.
Crazy to think that she got herself a whole second career. You know, out of that, she's like Judge Judy of the like paranormal investigators.
Yeah,
you know?
a little bit. I would say that's fair.
Life, you know, casting out demon-possessed dolls and haunted houses, and then now her life belongs to Warner Brothers.
My parents have talked about going to that museum, but my dad legit said, he's like, oh, I don't think I would want to go. I'd be worried a demon would get me. And like my mom was laughing, and he's like, no, I'm serious. So, you know, I guess I can't blame him. It's a little creepy.
Oh. Either way, we'll have to check it out.
So I'm very intrigued by the new Purge film, The Purge Election Year. Binge and The Purge. True confession, I haven't even seen The Purge 1 or 2, although they've been on my list for a while. But I saw that and was like really intrigued. What did you think? Because you just watched the trailer.
It had a lot of like metaphors between even how the rich fight amongst each other. So right. I mean, it had a lot of decent social commentary, and it was said a lot about sacrifice, but I wasn't really sure where they would go from there.
At least what I heard is that everybody who saw the first one wanted to see the outside world. So I think what's interesting about this franchise is their kind of world building, and the sequels all kind of feel like a fresh take on a premise that I think has a lot of potential to be mined. Mm-hmm. So now, again, they're on the outside world, but this time you've got like a Hillary Clinton-esque politician. It's a little bit Hunger Games because she survived a purge killing of like her whole family, and now her sort of platform is to do away with the purge. So it's kind of like Katniss trying to like get rid of the Hunger Games. So I guess that's potential. There's African American characters at the forefront too. So maybe there's going to be a little bit of Black Lives Matter in there. Seriously, I don't know.
You're really reading into it a lot more than I did, which is not bad.
It is politically sharp.
So they look like they're doing this whole like sacrificial mass type of thing. But
that's right. That looks creepy. But I don't know. Now it's like I feel like I have to catch up. I have to see 1 and 2, and I have to go see this one. But it opens 4th of July weekend too. So it's like perfect.
Yeah, coincidence? I don't think so. It does. Very creepy. Very creepy. Very but it also looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. So I like to see how she's going to get out of that church.
yeah, definitely.
So definitely something to look forward to while you're celebrating your fireworks.
So you are kind of interested in the new Rings movie. It's a follow-up to The Ring and The Ring 2.
I know. It's kind of a bit of a forgotten franchise, but I have to say I love all things Japanese, so it's nice to see a return to those horror movies, actually. I wasn't too fond of the sequel, but the first one was definitely a classic.
First one's terrific, and for a PG-13 movie, very scary. It's probably the creepiest PG-13 movie I think I've ever seen.
I know. That's what I think gives it not only street cred, but much appreciation. So when I heard about the third one coming out, I was pretty excited about it. Now, I read some of the plot points from what I could find on the internet, and so far it sounds like a little bit, I don't know if...
what is the plot?
Well, it seems like it's going to take place with, I think, like college students who kind of pass around Samara's tape, and I think that's like my first problem with it, is because with all this new media nowadays, where you can stream stuff on your phone, and I'm trying to think to
who
myself.
Even has a VCR?
I know.
Anymore?
Did they pick it up off like a sidewalk sale?
Then again, there is kind of, especially with horror, there's kind of a market for VHS collecting. So I don't know if they're smart enough to like actually reference that, but I guess maybe.
Well, I give Samara props because she knows how to find her niche. So I would figure horror geeks that are in underground clubs.
This is true.
She would totally be like, I'll target those people. But it seems as if it's going to follow kind of like a lovers in despair type of thing. It seems like, from what I've been reading, the boy found the tape, watched it, and is kind of on his last couple of minutes before he's about to get sucked through the TV. And I think the girlfriend is going to try to help with that in some ways, but but it looks like I don't know, it looks like a lot of fun. I just think that, on one hand, you could say maybe Hollywood's running out of ideas, so they're pushing more of these sequels.
Which, that's always going to be true. In the horror genre, it's all about the recycling. Although, I have to say, I heard about a Japanese movie that's basically going to be Samara from Ringu versus Ju-on, the Grudge creature. That sounds kind of cool. Yeah, I think I would be willing to watch that with subtitles.
I would totally be willing to watch that.
Isn't somebody kind of cool in the Rings movie? Or am I making that up?
Based on a novel by Nyanyua. But sounds really.
I can't tell if it's actually based on a novel by the original Japanese author of Ringu, or if they're just giving him credit for the characters. Johnny Galecki, that's who is in Rings, and so I'm kind of like, that's interesting.
Yeah, well, it'll be cool to see him, on the big screen. I know he's been in some big budget movies, but I think so many people know him for Big Bang Theory and Roseanne. But he has very much.
I remember him from I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Johnny Galecki. Rings, from Darlene to Samara. So, but still very much looking forward to it. But now that you mentioned it, I'm almost looking more forward to the Ring versus Ju-on whatever rumor that you heard. Yeah. So here's hoping that it won't be a rumor and that Rings will actually also be a worthy sequel. Yep. Who you gonna call?
Ladies!
We're also going to get the return of a beloved franchise, and that is, of course, Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
So, how do you feel about that?
I'm excited. Honestly, Ghostbusters is one of those things that everybody was like, even when they were talking about doing a third one, everybody was kind of like, oh, groan. Like, why not just leave it alone? But when they said it was going to be all women, I found that very intriguing. You've got Paul Feig directing it, who's a great comedic director. He did Bridesmaids and Spy. Melissa McCarthy is coming from those movies. No, her husband also does projects with her, but that's somebody else. But yeah, Melissa McCarthy, Kate McKinnon from Saturday Night Live, who looks a little bit like the real Ghostbusters animated Egon in character.
A little bit.
I think it's kind of awesome.
I think that she's like ripped from the animation cell.
Yeah. So that's awesome. You've also got Leslie Jones from Saturday Night Live.
I'm very excited about
we've got a hilarious, fierce black woman too. Like, sign me up. And Kristen Wiig, who like, she can't even do any wrong at this point. Yeah. Honestly, she could read the phone book and I'd probably piss myself laughing.
Really?
Seriously, she's so funny.
I have to say, I haven't seen her in anything like big and mainstream lately, so it'll be kind of nice to see her return to kind of like a big budget movie. But I'm totally in it for the SNL cast because I love Leslie Jones. She's hilarious. And
I mean, it's perfect because think about it. Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd both got their start on Saturday Night Live, so to have Saturday Night Live people and now women, I think it has a lot of potential.
And here's hoping for that potential, because I definitely want to see it succeed, because it just looks good.
And then, as far as we know about the plot, I think Kristen Wiig is like a paranormal professor. Melissa McCarthy actually worked for the MTA, the New York City subway system, which I think is hysterical.
Yeah.
And I won't hold that against her. I'm sure she's a great person.
They're the real demons.
And the plot line has to do with them fighting the ghosts of like legendary New York City criminals. So...
Oh, okay, that's something new I didn't hear about. But I actually think it'll be kind of fun to see Chris Hemsworth kind of playing the part
That's
of
right.
the secretary.
Instead of Annie Potts, the secretary, we get hunky Chris Hemsworth in glasses, like straining his button-up shirt. All about it. Like, hello.
I actually think he does good in comedic roles, because I remember him from A Cabin in the Woods, where... You know, he kind of played a little against type. I mean, they kind of had him as they gave him more funny stuff to work on. So.
Oh, and I want to mention that the movie has cameos from pretty much all of the surviving original Ghostbusters. So we're gonna get Ernie Hudson, Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Sigourney Weaver. Not worthy, and Annie Potts. So, like, that's exciting.
That is exciting. I'd like to see how, where they pop up at.
Yeah,
so
definitely,
kind of fun.
Definitely.
So, Ghostbusters, definitely a lot of fun things to check out.
I'm into leather. Underworld 5 is coming out, and you're kind of excited.
I am pretty excited. It's a franchise that I kind of wish would be a little more frequent in its films, but it's great to be getting another sequel. It's always good to see Kate Beckinsale come back. She does. Kate
Beckinsale, I love. Like, she can do no wrong. She's just the best part of those movies, because she looks amazing, and she's Kate Beckinsale.
Yeah, and with so much female empowerment going on, not only in a lot of the comic book movies, and when we were talking about Ghostbusters, I actually feel like it's a great time for something like Underworld to make a resurgence. And I'm glad that she's sticking with it, because in the last one it looked like they were going to kind of pass the mantle on to that daughter-like character that was in the fourth. There's not too much that we know about the plot, other than a couple of the actors, but what's a lot of fun is that some of the characters have been popping up in some other great horror-related franchises.
Yes, Bradley James, who I've never heard of him before this, but he plays the lead role on Damien, which we'll be talking about shortly. And then Theo James, who, no relation as far as I can tell, but he is quite attractive looking, and he's the star of those Divergent movies. So, there should be a lot of good eye candy on the screen at the very least.
And Theo James looks like he'll be like a good sidekick to like a lady that kicks ass. So it seems if you could tell anything from Divergent, although I kind of think I favor Kate Beckinsale a little over Cheyenne Woodley. It's always cool to watch vampires with some heavy arsenal. Go showing down the law. So, Underworld 5, soon to be released, looking like a lot of fun as well. So, definitely be sure to keep an eye on when that's coming out.
31 Flavors of Terror.
So, big mainstream movies are not the only thing to look forward to this year, because there's a lot of great independent stuff that's also coming out as well. And one of the great directors that is a great bridge between the mainstream and indie is actually Rob Zombie, who I know you're a huge fan of, and he's got a...
I dig him. I love him. I know he's got the haters, but I'll just full disclosure, I really think he's very talented. You know, for all of the sort of flaws and sort of idiosyncrasies that he puts in his movies, I think he's done some really fascinating original stuff. His new movie, 31, premiered at the Sundance Film Festival. It's supposed to be opening in the summertime. So the idea is that there is this sort of underground cult where they sort of put people in this like Hunger Games type situation where they have these murderous clowns that they have to try to evade. And it's called Murder World. Malcolm McDowell plays Father Murder. It's got Judy Geeson, who was in Lords of Salem. Of course, it has his wife and muse, Sherry Moon Zombie. Jeff Daniel Phillips is in it from Lords of Salem. A lot of his like kind of familiar faces. Meg Foster from Lords of Salem, and also famous for John Carpenter's They Live. And I believe she was in Masters of the Universe, the movie. I want to say. I'm pretty sure she was Evelyn in that.
I was going to say. She looks like she'd fit in perfectly.
So basically, I'm fucking salivating to see this thing because it sounds really fun. They say it's kind of like the Rob Zombie take on Stephen King's The Running Man, that sort of premise.
Okay.
And it's supposed to have a really great 1970s soundtrack, which is like Rob Zombie's forte. So I'm psyched.
Jeez. Yeah, his stuff is very dark and very creepy. Well, you got one fan, Rob.
Adventures in Babysitting. Holidays. Celebrate.
So there's a little bit of a two for tit here on this one. You have there's a
I don't think that's the expression, but
there's two other really great ones that are coming out that you know of.
Yes.
One is called Emily and Holidays, and so break it down for us.
Well, Emily, I talked about in our last episode because I caught it at the last spring's Tribeca Film Festival, and it will be opening, I believe, limited theatrical release and on demand right around my birthday in early March. Emily is about a babysitter who is letting the kids get away with a lot, and as the night goes on, it just gets more and more weird. Can't really give it away, but it was a very cool little movie.
How weird are we talking? Like kind of like horror adventures in babysitting?
Not that wacky. There is some degree of you know, over the topness to it, but again, I don't want to spoil it, but it was a cool movie. Holidays is a movie by multiple directors, including Kevin Smith and the directors of Starry Eyes, which that's a really freaky independent film. Basically, you can probably tell just from the title, it's about various holidays: Halloween, Christmas, Easter, Valentine's Day.
President's Day.
Could be, I don't know.
St. Arbor's Day.
Arbor Day. The Valentine's segment, just in time for Valentine's Day, they showed a little teaser, which I showed you before we taped this, and looks kind of cool. It's about like a sort of picked on teenage girl, a little bit of a Carrie vibe. Yeah. She's got a thing for her coach. So I think it looks promising. You know, the anthology films can be hit and miss, but this one I'm down to check out.
Okay, well, very cool. So do you know actually how many holidays they're putting into it?
I'm guessing it's going to be about 5 or 6 segments, because I definitely saw Valentine's Day, Halloween, Christmas, Easter.
Wouldn't it be funny if they had
It would be
Kwanzaa?
funny if they had Kwanzaa. Yes. Boy.
So aside from all the indie stuff, we're also getting some reissues, and I know one of your favorites is kind of going to be making its way back into the public.
Yeah, Angus Scrimm, who famously played the tall man in Phantasm, he passed away early this year. And so I broke out my old VHS of Phantasm, and I was all set to watch it, and doesn't really work anymore. Like the sound's kind of off and stuff. But shortly thereafter, I learned that J.J. Abrams is supervising a reissue of Phantasm. They sort of redid it. They're supposed to, you know, correct the color and whatever else they do, have it all, you know, spiffed up. So that's coming out, and I think it's entirely appropriate that, you know, we just lost Angus Scrimm, and the film that put him on the map is so I believe it'll have like a limited theatrical re-release, and it'll also be coming onto DVD and Blu-rays.
Well, I definitely will pay my respects. May he rest in peace. But it seems like it couldn't be a better time for your tape to break, because you're going to get a new one. Yep. So yes, definitely. But Phantasm, be sure to check it out, and keep with us with Monster Nation.